Hi everyone, I'm Darren Eisenberg. Thanks for joining Synergy Effect for this presentation by Cris Popp on resilience. And before you spend the next 10 minutes listening to Cris, let me tell you a couple of interesting things about him. Firstly, Cris had quite an explosive start to his working life. Literally, as a teenager, he would set up the gelignite in his father's rock blasting business. After that, he spent years as an ABC radio journalist, which means he is thorough in his research, he knows how to use his voice, and quite curiously, when he walks under a bridge, you can't hear him speak until he comes out the other side. He has also worked as a consultant at the Melbourne Business School and taught innovation in the MBA program at the Australian Institute of Management. Most importantly, Cris really does live his lessons. He does not present any idea to a group until he has thoroughly tested it himself. Sadly, that does mean to have become an expert on resilience, he's had to face a fair few major challenges himself in recent times. To tell us how he and we can bounce back when life knocks us down, please enjoy the one-time Dynamite preparer and current Dynamite presenter, Cris Popp.
Recent events have shown just how important it is going to be to adapt and change, to be able to pivot quickly. You can already see that some people and organisations will dive, they'll just cease to function as they were before. Some will survive, hoping things can return to normal, well, at least until the next crisis or adversity or pandemic or lack of toilet paper. And others will thrive. And the difference between those that thrive and dive is resilience. Resilience is one of those key higher order skills. It's more important than learning a particular skill or becoming another degree, or even becoming better at motivating people, because resilience is about learning to learn. And the key to resilience is open to everyone, and it's right here. Let me tell you a little bit about Rhonda Cornum. In the last Gulf War, she was a flight surgeon with a helicopter regiment that went out to pick up downed pilots. One day they're on a mission, they're flying out in a Black Hawk, they themselves get shot down, and on the way down, of the 8 crew, 5 die straight away, 3 survive. Here's her own words. As we were going down, I remember thinking we could either be captured or die. Being captured was better, and that was good. I could move the fingers in my hand, and that was good because I knew we were really good at orthopedics. But then this soldier stuck a gun in my head, and I started thinking, things are not going too well, are they? So I started thinking, really racking my brains. I've had a great life, and I've got a great partner and a great kid. And I've got the chance to do a lot of really interesting things, and at least it'll be a faster end than a lot of people get. And then the gun went click, and I thought to myself, this is not too bad, really, is it? Somewhere between Rhonda Cornum's level of resilience and our own, we can all learn to be a bit more resilient. And it's worth it, because this is not the first adversity you face. It's not going to be the last one either. But after this, we've got global warming to deal with and wealth inequality, and there'll be competitors and changes and divorces and all sorts of things going on. They just keep coming one after another. That's what life is like. You do something, you try it out, then you have to course correct, and you get back to, hopefully get back onto course. And I know this for myself. Last year, I had a bunch of things go wrong. I lost my business, my job, close friend, and a great relationship. And it started at the start of the year. My friend got bashed and he got an acquired brain injury, and now for the rest of his life he has to have care. And then in the middle of the year, my business got wound up for no fault of our own by a change of regulation, and along that with the job. Did I say that in the middle of that I found out that my house was covered in flammable cladding, and that would have to be replaced at the cost of tens of thousands of dollars. But there was a bright light. I met this woman. She was a lovely woman, beautiful. I decided to marry her, but still it was dark. And so in that sort of 6-month period there, I was wondering what to do next. And finally I picked myself up. I got something new going. And just as I started out with it, the lockdown hit. Nobody wanted to hear about my new idea. And the love of my life ended it. So a pretty dark period. I had, in my previous life, developed this model of resilience I call the resilience compass. I'll talk about that later. And I've been teaching resilience skills, so I should know how to do this, right? I should know how to be more resilient. I'm Mr. Resilient, right? Well, no, I knew what I needed to do, but I wanted to do all the usual things. I wanted to drink more alcohol and binge watch TV and do a whole lot of activities and basically numb myself to what was going on. And I did do that for a little while. Then I picked myself up and I remember the points of the compass. There's 6 of them. The first one is circumstances, so that's accepting exactly what's going on. And the Akron people of Africa have a saying that your problems have arrived, your neighbour's problems have arrived, yours will be here shortly. That's the first point. Friends and strangers is the next point. So that's around turning to other people appropriately. And what we find is when we turn to other people, we both let off the charge that we've got about the thing, but also it helps us put things in context. The next one's around direction, having a strong sense of how we want to be when we get out of there. The next one's around community, so making decisions for the greater good. Then there is adversity, which is learning from what goes wrong. And what you find with resilient people, they always go back and look at what happened, whether it's their fault or not, and they try to learn from what happened. So that's what I should have done, but it's not what I did at the start. But then going into lockdown with burning through cash and having everything I'd ever worked for had failed, not having a job or a partner and being alone, I did actually start to turn around and look at my circumstances and reassess what was important to me, which is why I'm here today. Resilience is one of those key order skills. In the lockdown, I've been working with a pharmaceutical team. So these are salespeople that are used to normally getting out and being very active and engaged and kicking lots of goals. And suddenly they find themselves at home. They're completely shut down. They can't do anything they normally do. They've used this time to read all the scientific papers, to develop their presentation skills. And so they're ready when they need to go out. And there's lots of examples of that. I'm not the only one there. There's my neighbour who was a winemaker and who now is starting to make disinfectant from the distillery they've got. There's the company that's turned around to start making PPE. And there's even the parents, you know, don't have to be distant or glamorous goals. There's even the parent who knows more about their children now that have spent time at home. One team I dealt with that developed the skills of resilience, after the training, felt twice as confident dealing with the issue and then came up with 5 action steps where previously they had none. Now, one of the keys under resilience, and I talked about the second point of the compass, self, is around self-compassion. And why that's so important is that you will get it wrong over and over. You and your team will get it wrong over and over. That's what life is like. You just get up, you fail, you try things out and they go wrong again. I still get things wrong a hell of a lot of the time. Recently, I went on a hike. Now, I do a lot of hiking. I do this extreme hiking to help build up my resilience. I've done dozens of them. Recently, I went out on this hike. It was only a 2-dayer. It should be easy. I should know how to do it all. I go out, and the first thing I notice is I've left home my stove. Now, you'd think that's a pretty important piece of equipment to have when you're a hiker. Stove cooks the meal, left at home. No big deal. Got up the next day and proceeded to the next section of the walk. Compass didn't work. The clouds were covered. I couldn't take a compass reading. Everything's very wet. And in the course of that, my GPS starts to get wet and starts to malfunction. It takes me about 2.5 hours to walk 800 metres. And then I get to the top, lose the track, and just as I'm trying to find the track, the GPS dies altogether. So what do? I know what you're probably thinking, respond like a hero. What I really did is I had a little meltdown. I had a little scream at God up in the sky, why this? And then I started to think, you're stupid, what do you think you're doing out here? You can't do this. Then I calmed myself down, went back to the resilience compass, practiced a bit of self-compassion, thought about what had happened, backtracked, found the track, and I was able to walk out. What do you think I learned from that? Well, I learned that I should have a GPS that's waterproof, but what else I learned is the skill of relaxing, calming yourself down, looking back at where you went wrong and picking up the track again. Resilience is one of those key higher order skills. It'll help you and your team to learn to be comfortable with discomfort. It'll help you learn when things go wrong. And as I said, one of the keys in that is self-compassion. So what will you do? Your team and you are probably trying to do the best you can with what you have. You know, a crisis come up, a change, an adversity or a challenge. People always try to do the right things and deal with it. But we know that less resilient teams, they spend much time off track, they get much further off track, and when they come back, they often end up back where they were before, not having really learnt the skills. And resilient teams spend less time off track, that little dip is shallower, and they bounce back better. Resilience is learnable. Just like Rhonda Cornum, you can learn not to react, but to respond, and to bounce back better than you were before.